Here we are in section 3.2, exercises part A, with the solutions to numbers 22 through 33, and we'll do those two preparation problems, 34 and 35 as well. Looks like we have all of the percent problems that we're working with right now. Number 22, 18 is what percent of 58? This is a statement, a question that we can answer by turning it into an algebraic equation. 18 is equals. What percent, that's our variable, so we could put a little p here, or you could use an x if you would like to, of 58. That's times 58. Now we have an equation that we can solve. We know this one, happy math land. We can say, hey, we know how to solve that. Divide by 58. Divide by 58. So we get that p equals, let's pull out the calculator and see what we get when we divide 18 divided by 58. It's 0.3103, 0.3103. Now it asks us for a percent, not just a decimal, so we must move it 2 places, so we get 31.03%. If you wanted to do 31% and just round it 1 decimal place, I think that would be okay. Let's check our answer. 31%. They just rounded to the 1 decimal place, which is the whole unit on this particular case. Number 23. What is 87% of 54? What in math means variable. So x is means equals 87%, that's 0.87, moving the decimal 2 places, of 54. So that we'll put that in parentheses to represent multiplication. What do we need to do to solve this? Oh, we're already so happy right now because x is already by itself. So we don't have to do any solving. We just have to multiply 0.87 times 54. Excellent. 46.98. X equals 46.98. Let's check our answer. 46.98 is correct. Number 24. Here we have 34 is 56%, 0.56 of what? I don't know, let's use, that's our variable. We could pick, I don't know, n for a number. Or we could use an x or a p like we did before. Of is multiplication, so this is multiplying. Now, this is an equation. Look at that. Once you translate this into an equation, we know how to solve this. We want to get n by itself, so we divide by this 0.56, divide by 0.56, and we get n equals, punch this in your calculator, 34 divided by 0.56 equals 60.714. 60.71. And we could keep going on with the decimal as long as we wanted. And we don't turn this number into a percent, it's just of what number. So let's check our answer. 60.7. They rounded to 1 decimal place, which is perfectly fine. All right, number 25. What is 13% of 79? Here's our what. We could use n or x for a variable. Is 13% is 0.13 of means multiplication 79. So we translated that into an equation. Hey, look at that. That's nice. We don't even have to solve to get x by itself. It's already there. We just have to punch in those numbers. 0.13 times 79 equals 10.27. When we write that down, we're not changing it to a percent at all. It just says, what is that number? Let's check our answer. 10.27. Good. Number 26. 119 is is 8% of what? 119 is 8%, 2 decimal places, that's 0.08 of what? We'll use an x this time. Ooh, how do we get that together, get x by itself? Well, we're in an equation. We know how to get x by itself. We divide by that 0.08. Divide by 0.08. Now notice up here where we times by this 13% or 87%, when we write it out in the equation, it shows us why we have to divide, because the 8% is timesing something we don't know. so we have to use algebra to go backwards. So we get x equals 119 divided by 0.08. And that equals, that's a big number, 1487.5. Let's check that answer. And we get 1487.5. Good. Number 27. 23 is what percent? So we're looking for a percent. I'll use P again since we're searching for a percent of 74. So times 74. Alrighty. Look, we have an equation. That's a happy thing. We know how to get P by itself. We divide by 74. And P then equals 23 divided by 74. Punch that in our calculator. 23 divided by 74 is 0.3108. 0.3108. If we move it 2 places, then we get 31.08%. And notice we do that because it was searching for a percent. Now, if you rounded it at 1 decimal place, it would be 31.1%. Let's check our answer. 31%. Oh, they just rounded to the nearest percent. That's okay. Number 28. Here we have a problem where it's asking for a final price once we have an original price of 92.56 and then a tax of 7.3%. Now tax gets added on, so this is going to be a plus. 7.3%, in order to find out how much tax, we need to multiply that. So we're going to take 0.073, remember we move it 2 decimal places, times 92.56, and that will give us the tax. Let's punch that in the calculator. 0.073 times 92.56 equals 6.75688, 6.76. This that we just found, 6.76, that's the amount of tax that will happen. And so to find the final price, we must add that onto 92.56. So let's get our calculator and add that onto 92.56 equals 99.32. 99.32 is our final price. Now we should note that they gave us the original price and the tax rate, so we were able to just use arithmetic. There were no variables in here at all. Let's check our answer. And there we have 99.32. Number 29. This one, the original price is not given, but the final price is. And the discount is 40%, but it was 40% of the original price, which we don't know. We need to use a variable. We need to use algebra. So let's write this down, that we have an original price, and let's put a P in there for it. That's our variable, price, original price. And in order to find out the discount, we would have to take 0.4p. That's the amount of the discount. And we would, discount means subtract on sale. So we would have to subtract this from the original price in order to equal the final, which is $43.90. Well, look at this. We just made an equation. The original price subtract 40% of that price equals the final. We can combine like terms now. Put those two together, and that's 0.6p equals 43.90. And divide both sides by 0.6, and we can find out what our original price is. Let's write it right here. Price equals, calculator, 43.9 divided by 0.6 equals, that's 73.17 if we now round to the nearest hundredth. $73.17. Alrighty, let's check that in the answers. $73.17. Right on. So number 30. They do not give us the original price again, so we need to use algebra and put a P there. This is a tax, which means it's being added. And 5% as a decimal is 0.05. So we need to take 5% of the original price, 0.05 of the original price, and it gets added to the original price to equal, so the 5% of the price gets added onto the price to equal the 237.50. Alrighty, that's good. We have an equation. We know how to do that. There's no fractions, there's no parentheses, but we do need to combine these like terms together. Remember, there's an imaginary 1 out in front of the p. 1 plus 0.05 gives us 1.05p equals 237.550, or just 0.5. Well, can we get that p by itself? Certainly we can. We divide by 1.05, divide by 1.05, and we get that the original price had to have been, in our calculator, 237.5 divided by 1.05 equals 226.19. 226.19. Let's double check our answer in the back and see if we got it. Yes, $226.19. And number 31. The original price was given to us. Look at that. We know that. So the discount, which is subtraction, is 30% of that number. So we can take 0.30 times 58.50. Or we can drop that 0 as well. Let's go ahead and punch that in. 0.30 times 58.50, and again we don't need those zeros, equals 1755. That's how much money is being taken off. That's the discount. To find the final price, we need to subtract that from the original 58.50. So if we take 58.5, subtract 17.55, we get, let's try that, 58.5 subtract 17.55 equals $40.95. $40.95 right there. And that's great. Let's check our answer. $40.95. Good. Number 32. If the population of a town grew 21% up, that means it's going to add to 15,049. That means this is the final population. What was the population last year? Ooh, we need to discover a variable right here. We don't know the original, so this is R. We'll call it P for population. So what happens? 21%, in order to find out the number, it has to times the amount that was there to find out the amount that grew. So we must take 0.21p and add it to last year's population. You'll notice it's exactly like number 29 or number 30. And it's the same formula. It's the same pattern each and every time. The original population grows by 21% of that population and equals 15,049. You'll notice when it grows up like that, the 21% does not times the final, ever. So can we add these? Yeah, that's 1.21p equals 15,049. And yes, we can solve this. We know how to do that. Get the p by itself by dividing by 1.21. Divide by 1.21. And we get that p equals, calculator please, 15049 divided by 1.21 equals, and so we get that the p equals 12,437.19. 12,437.19, but really if we're talking about a population, we're going to give it in nice even round numbers, so we'll round to the nearest one person. Let's check our answer. 12,437. Good. And number 33. If the price of an object dropped, that means subtract 25% Now 25% is 0.25 of something. Now it's not of this, it dropped 25% of its original price. So we need a variable. We'll call this again P for price. So the original price dropped, subtract 25% of that original price down to 101.25. And again, this is the final. So 1p minus 0.25p is 0.75p equals 101.25. We know how to solve this. We can get that p by itself by dividing both sides by 0.75. Divide by 0.75, and we get that p equals, we need our calculator out here, 101.25 divided by 0.75 equals 135, right on the nose. There we go, exactly $135. Let's check our answer, 135. All right, let's pull up number 34 and number 35 now. Number 34, it says, after reading some from the next section, try to solve this equation. Well, in the next section, it talks about how to get rid of fractions. And here's the gist of it. It says x divided by 7 plus 13 divided by 7 equals 15 divided by 7 minus 2x divided by 7. Ew, we've got a whole bunch of fractions here, but it's all divided by 7. So we can times everything by 7 if we want to. And what happens? 7 divided by 7 is gone. That's amazing. You guys have ultimate power. You can multiply everything by 7. Then you have x plus 13 equals 15 minus 2x. Look at how it changed that. Now you can add things to both sides and it'll work just fine. Number 35, we have a very similar thing. Notice all these divided by 3's. You can times by 3 everywhere. And when you multiply it, they just go away and you get x plus 13 equals 15 minus 2x. These equations are now able to be solved the way you have done in the past. Well, that's what the next section is about. What happens when you start getting fractions that are different denominators? Well, we can change things to common denominators, and that is why the answers say, discuss it together. Excellent.